Welcome to the July edition of What's New with Sanity. A lot has been happening the past month. We have exciting updates and new features for the studio, and I got some of the Sanity engineers behind these new updates and features to answer questions about them and how you can get them into your studio today. So we have a handful of these interviews for you and demos. We will look at the high frequency CDN and the live content API. We will look at auto updates. We'll look at the new array selector for the studio and the new copy and paste feature for the studio. So each interview will be with an engineer who helped create it, and they'll give you a first look into the feature and even a cool demo. We know we love to hear it straight from the engineers. So first up, we have Simen, our co-founder and CTO, to explain the high-frequency CDN and the live content API.
Yes. So the high frequency CDN and the live content API are closely related technologies. So to us, this started with this challenge where we have customers who have these immense high traffic events, like let's say an e-commerce company during Black Friday, and they need their page load speed to be instant, but also they need to be able to reach their customers with completely fresh information, because if they're sold out of something or about to sell out, they might not want to promote that offer right now. So that keeps changing in real time, and people are coming in the millions at the same time. So this is a problem, because serving content at scale is a solved problem. You just store it in caches around the planet, and then you serve the content from that cache. Solved. Also, getting fresh information, it's a solved problem. Like, you just have all of your customers or all of your visitors come to the same source and always check for the latest bit of content. And of course, those two things are opposites. So like being able to do both at the same time is a hard engineering problem. So it's not unsolvable, but it usually requires bespoke engineering based on intimate knowledge of your particular use case. The thing with the high frequency CDN is that it's built on our structured content store, the content lake, and it knows the structure of your content. So it's able to kind of completely automatically know when you change your content, know exactly what to update in those caches, and then proactively do that. So this technology makes it possible to serve content from your caches, but then within very short time, make sure these are always up to date with the latest version of your content. So that's the high frequency CDN. It basically serves dynamic content that's always fresh within like seconds at scale to millions of users. Now, as we were working on this, we realized the screen you're looking at is a cache in a sense. Like, you load a website today, and very often like it's not proactively updated, so it might be old. And that might be a problem, or it might be a great service if it was up to date. So let's say you're waiting for tickets to go on sale, or you're tracking like a live news event, or you are in a sale event and you want to be looking at things and be ready when an offer becomes available, or like know ahead of time that an offer just became unavailable, stuff like that. That's very hard to do today. Similarly hard as kind of it is about this, like knowing what part of your screen is now suddenly out of date and pushing the correct update. So the live content API is basically an extension of the high frequency CDN. It's a way for an end user application like a mobile app or a website, or even like a server side system that we don't know about, that could then know specifically if it's holding on to state, it's holding on to information. If you're looking at like a ticket being not for sale right now, it can then know in real time exactly when to update that bit of information. So it's a way to make a website, an app, any experience live without needing to reload or recheck anything. So the cool thing about it is like it feels like something like Firebase or Superbase, but this scales to millions of users. We haven't tested tens of millions, but it's likely that it even scales to tens of millions once we get to validate that. So it's a more scalable but equally live kind of technology. And it just comes out of the box. Very, very little engineering required. I think you could talk to Cody about that.
Right, thank you, Simon. So to give a sense of how it works, I'm gonna do a walkthrough of how we can make this very simple application live. So it just renders a blog post, as you can see it here. And to really sell the whole live idea, I have enabled the live edit feature that you can set on a document level on in the studio. So I don't have to press the publish button manually. I can type in this field and it just saves. So let's dive into the code that we're going to update and make live. So the first thing you need to do is to make sure you are on this version or later. At the time of the recording, it's only available on VX, but by the time you see this video, it will be on this API or later. And then, since we are using the high frequency CDN, we have to make sure that you set CDN to true. That's typically something we don't do in next apps, but now with the high frequency CDN, we set this to true. So before we kick off and dive into the deets, this is a very simple React application where we have some state pending. We have the query result that we're doing. The query itself is very simple. We just filter by post, we set and slug, and then we fetch some fields. So, and here's the slug. The slug is hard-coded to a post that we are editing. And the data fetching itself is just a simple use effect. You've said before, client fetch, we wait for the response, we get the response, we set the state, and we render the page. We can see in the log that we are getting the post. So the first part of this with the high frequency CDN that ties into the live content API is that on all of these queries, we have some new data that we're going to grab that tells us if it has changed. So as Simen explained, on a query, you now have sync tags, and these sync tags are stable. So they are opaque. You can't really extract information from them, but our live content API and our infrastructure can extract this information and use it to know when a certain query can refetch and get new data. So that these tags can be quite different and the amount of them can change, but every query has them and they are used in the live content API. So the first step here is to just grab the sync tags so we can use them in the API call. So I have cheated a little bit by preparing this. So I'm going to paste this in. And the option that you need to access those sync tags that we need to pass on later to set filter response to false. Now, in this walkthrough, we're going through how it works. Keep in mind that the goal is that for frameworks, we want to make this whole passing of these variables something that happens behind the scenes. But when you use this today, there is some wiring needed. So with this filter response to false, we no longer get the post result directly here. Let's see, I forgot to add this state handler. So now the post result is on the result property, and we have something new, and that's the sync tags. So the sync tags are now available here. In case the wrong API version is used, we default an empty array. Now, when we refresh the page, we can see that we can access these tags. The new API that listens to updates is already available in the latest version of Sanity client. So to use it, you just need to install the latest version. And once you do, you have a new method you can call called events on a new property called live. So the way this API works is that it doesn't have any arguments, and it returns an observable. So you call subscribe, and it will give you an event. The only event we care about is called message, as that gives us a list of tags that have changed. And there's some other logic here. I'll go through that after I show just when that happens. So we refresh the page, and we see that we have the sync tags in our cache. And as I edit this post, you'll see that we get a notification. The sync tags have changed. You can also debug this by just looking at the event source in Chrome or whatever DevTools, and then you can see each event as they happen and what data they contain. Now, the key part that we're missing to make this whole thing live, because this far we are notified when the query I ran originally have changed, which is great, but there's nothing live yet. The last step that we need, now that we are keeping on track of what have changed, is what we call the last live event ID. The last live event ID is a new parameter that you can set in the client that works as a cache breaker with the new high frequency CDM. So it's a guarantee that when you give an ID here that comes from the live events API, you will be guaranteed to get fresh data on that response. And this is key to making this live. So no matter how frequently the CDM gives you new data, without this parameter, that doesn't matter in this case, because when you're giving this event with this ID, you have a guarantee that if you use this ID, when you refetch, you will get a fresh response, you will get the updated data. You don't have to worry about eventual consistency or latency. And I need to update this dependency. And now it will be live. So I can type in here and it will re-render when it syncs, or that's what it should do. This is a live demo, so you never know what will actually happen. But it should, unless I missed something. Oh, there we go. Okay. Bit of a slow network connection here. So, and that works with like any kind of data. To show at the end is just how it works when you use the AI assist, generate sample content. Now the content is gone. Give me some new content, and then hopefully ChatGPT is online. There we go. It's working, and now we'll see. It will re-render as the content is filled in. And this experience is available to everyone. So we've done demos like this with live previews, but this is public. You can do this on your website, on your app, and it scales really well. And that's that. That's how it works today. It is brand new, and we are working with framework authors to make the passing of sync tags from data you're fetching, setting up this event listener, and then sending the last live event ID. We don't really want you to be dealing with them. So the goal with us working with framework authors is to make all of this just work. So in effect, the first code we had here, without this use effect, without passing of sync tags, that shouldn't be necessary. So the goal we're pursuing is that you just fetch data you need and you mark what you want to be live, and it will just work. But until we get there, this is what you need to do. And good news is it just works. So even if this data is private, the data you're fetching here is private, you can use this publicly. That's what it's designed to do. The tags are opaque, and it scales. So you don't have to worry about how many visitors you get on your app.
Hi, Binoy. Thanks so much for joining. Can you introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, I'm Binoy Patel. I'm senior software engineer on the studio team.
Okay, let's actually share your screen and show people how they can start using this.
Yeah, so there's two ways to enable this. One is to add auto updates, flag to true in your Sanity CLI config, or you can run Sanity deploy with auto updates flag. So in this case, since we already added the flag here, we'll just run the deploy. And for demonstrating, I've actually on an older version of Sanity, just to demonstrate this feature working. So we'll run deploy. It will present with the message that my local version is different from what it's going to be. In this case, I'll just continue, and it'll deploy that. Then, as you can see on our deployed site, the version actually it's picking is the latest version of Sanity and not the version in my package JSON. So this will keep up to date with every new release of Sanity on reload.
And we have a lot of updates, so this is going to be very useful for our users. Thanks for joining and thanks for answering these questions. And everyone get auto updating in your studio. Hey, Christian, thanks so much for joining us. Could you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Christian, and I'm a senior software engineer here at Sanity.
So you've been working on the array insert menu. Can you explain a little bit what that is?
Yeah, I can. So if you have an array field in the studio and it accepts multiple different types, then that experience of inserting a new kind of value or type into that array is not really that great today. So we have made some improvements to make that experience better.
This all sounds super awesome. Let's actually open up a studio and show the users how they can start using it.
Sure. I have a little page building demo studio that I made for myself that I can show this new feature in. So here I have a page, and you can imagine that my page is built using different building blocks. So here I have a hero block, and then underneath that a logos block, and then some testimonials. So I will eventually have a lot of different blocks here. And if I add a new item, we can see right away something new, which is I get a new filter in this menu. And so this is one of the new things where even though you didn't configure anything on your own, if you have more than 5 items to choose from, we'll give you a filter. You can also, of course, enable that manually to always have it, but we'll auto enable it for you if you have more than 5 items. And I can pop over to another page. It's just completely the same page as this one, but I just configured some more, or did some more configuration on this insert menu. So this is the same page, but I did more configuration. So I click Add Item Now. I get the same filter as before, but now the menu is a little bit bigger and there's more stuff going on. I also added some new groups. So we have this new option of actually grouping types into different groups if you have a lot of them. And we actually also have views. So the default view is this list, basically, but you can also configure a grid view. And what that will also give you is the ability to configure previews for each type. So here I just configured a preview for the hero, but all these other types, previews can follow. And until that, we just show the icon as fallback.
I think a lot of people are going to find this super useful. I know I will, and I'm already starting to use it. The filtering is super nice, the organization of all of it. So how can people start using it today?
You can update your Sanity Studio as you normally would, and then you're good to go. We have docs out for this, and like even if you don't do anything on your own, if you have like large arrays, then you get the filtering enabled by default, and then you can play around with the other options as you please.
Hi, Fred. Thanks so much for joining us. Could you do a quick intro?
Hi, Cap. Yeah, I'm Fred. I work on the studio team as a full stack engineer.
So you've been working on this global copy and paste feature for the studio. Could you actually demo that for us?
Yeah, sure. Let me drop into this document I have prepared. So we have this like book document, right? And I've prepared it. And for some reason, I don't know what the reason is, I need to like move this content into another document, right? And you can see all these like different fields. Like normally I would have to, like copy and paste every single thing. And some of these you would actually have to like find them again. Like an image, for example, would be very hard to find sometimes. So like, let me show you how it actually works then. So for example, we have this like object, and now you have this new option that is a copy and a paste field so I'm just gonna like pull this out. Okay, so yeah, now I'm in this other document, and let me just like drop it here. you can see it like copied the whole thing. If I had like multiple texts, it would copy the whole thing. So let's go back here. So I have this like reference, right? Let me copy that as well. Same thing here. And this image, I'm just gonna pull that over here.
And this normally does not flow like this. Like you said earlier, like you would go find it, you would like copy the text and like copy that, but like you're taking a whole field and like all the content of it and just pasting it. That's great.
Exactly, and like a great example of it that I've heard is a common use case. Like if you do like page building in Sanity, you would normally have, or a lot of the time, you have this like arrays that is a mix of different content, right? And if you wanted to like recreate that in a second document, right, that would be hard to do, right? Like you would have to like copy every single field.
Mm-hmm.
So with this feature, you can just like move it over. Let me see here. See, easy like that.
That's so convenient.
Exactly, and it's the same thing is actually true for the whole document. We already have a method to duplicate the document today, but one of the things of this new copy and paste feature is that it will actually take all fields that are the same between two documents, right? So if you have, let's say you have a book, and let's say we have another called poster or something. If they shared like some common fields, like let's say you had a title field for both, and you had some image fields that would be named the same. Like let's say it's we have the author field and cover image. Like that would also be the same in the two different document types. Like today, you can actually like just copy the whole document. I can't actually show you like two different document types. I don't have that, but like it works the same as like here, where I just like duplicate the same thing. So it would just do the same, but for the whole document. Take all the fields, move them over.
Yeah,
that's and it also it's only a clipboard, right? So you can like yeah, you could even actually send this like you could dump it on Slack and someone could copy it and they could like do the same thing, like just paste it in if you wanted to for some reason, right? Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that's basically how it works.
What was the like motivation behind creating this? Like, was there something that happened that you all were like, oh, we need to add that feature in?
I would say the motivation is like just like editorial efficiency, making it easy to like reuse content. Not, you know, we already have references, right? But like it's, again, with the array example, it's very time consuming to recreate these. Like this is a very basic example, but imagine you have a lot of fields inside of these and you have different content types, and let's say you have like a landing page example where you have like a hero, you have like some sections that are like commonly used between different pages, and obviously there's like ways to build that in Sanity today, but like here you can just like take this like whole thing and just like dump it in and then remove the ones that are not relevant, right? And it takes you 2 seconds without.
So you've been doing 3 dots and then copy field. I just saw, did you do a keyboard shortcut? Does that also work?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Of course. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. Some of these fields have like we support keyboard shortcuts, like some. So for arrays and like images, where you have this like blue line, it is a bit tricky. Like we have a future iteration of this where we essentially want you to allow you to like pick the fields you want to copy. So almost like a new like selection mode. So you can, that will also support arrays, right? So let's say you only wanted this. There isn't a way right now. This just copies the whole thing. But in the future, you will be able to pick only the things you want. So I could pick this like one array item. I could pick this image field, and I could pick this reference and just copy those. But that's in a future iteration. It's a bit tricky with the UI here. But that's the end goal here, that you can just like pick only the things you want to move over, and it's supposed to be like very quick and effective.
Thanks so much for that demo, Fred. It's actually really cool to like see all the things that you can grab at once and like where you can put it and all the different things that you can do with this, because it is true, when you are copying pasting in the studio, it has been very tedious, and this just kind of like takes care of all that. So how can people start using this today, this feature today?
As always, they can just update their studio to the newest version, right? And then they would just get it.
Perfect. So yeah, you heard it here first, everyone. Just update your studio and you can start using this new copy and paste global feature in your studio. Thanks, Fred.
You're welcome.
Our engineers are always building and making Sanity better for you. Some features can be community requests or things we just knew had to be added. We hope these new features will allow you to work your best content work with Sanity. Now remember, to get all these studio updates into your studio instance, run the command npm install sanity at latest. And to initiate a new studio without installing the CLI globally, run the command npm create sanity at latest. Now, if you want to keep up to date on our updates, bug fixes, and new features, there are 2 places I recommend keeping an eye on. The first is our changelog, sanity.io/changelog. And then our second is the Slack community, slack.sanity.io. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I will see you next month with more exciting updates from Sanity. Mahalo, and I will see you around.